All right, today we're just going to go over real quick some of the basic features of the Astral 150. The reason we're doing this is Austin predominantly right now uses the Astral on most of their patients, so you're going to see those patients come in and be treated by us, so we really need to know this vent as well as any predominant vent used for home care in the city. So when they come in, they're probably going to have the screen that shows up just like this. If you hit the home screen from this position, you can look at all the settings and see what is going on setting wise, but you can see that I can't change anything. So I can't change any settings from this, but I can see what they are. Waveform, obviously, this shouldn't be said, but we should be having the waveform up in the room because that's what we look at, including home vents, as it sits on the patient. But if you need to change the setting, how you get to unlock the mode is you up here in the corner where this lock symbol is, you have to touch this and hold it down for almost 5 seconds. You see if I let go, it doesn't unlock. If I just go like this, it doesn't unlock. You got to hold it down for 5 seconds, and then once you get that enormously long time, then it unlocks, asks you this, and you pick whatever you want for 20 minutes or unlimited. And that now opens the vent to the same settings that you were able to look at before, but now you're able to change them. Okay, so this circuit actually comes in 3 different circuit options, but mostly I would say 90% of the time, patients in Austin, as far as I know, will be on the single limb with the whisper valve, just like the circuit that we use on the EV300. Same scenario, same situation. Usually they'll have an uncuffed trach, but some super sick, chronic lung kids might have a cuffed trach at home, but again, 90% of them will have an uncuffed trach when they come in on their home vent. So from this feature, from this screen, if you touch this, it shows you what modes are available for that circuit that is on it. And the vent knows what circuit is, because depending on the circuit, you have to change out the valve that goes in here to tell the vent that particular circuit is on there. So each circuit, different modes are available to it. In the single limb whisper valve, these are the modes that are available. CPAP is rare for someone to be on just CPAP. This pressure control, assist control, is rarely used as well because no one likes assist control. The most common modes are pressure support and ST. Okay, and somehow I changed everything I had set there. So let's talk about what the difference is between ST and pressure support. So first, pressure support, let's go through what pressure support mode on this vent does. So first, because it's called pressure support, that should tell you every breath in here is a pressure support breath. And we've already had discussions about what that means, with the difference between a pressure control breath and a pressure support breath. So because it's a pressure support breath, that means every breath on this mode the I time itself is going to be controlled by the flow deceleration pattern and not an actual time frame. So first of all. Second, you see at the bottom of this mode, you see safety tidal volume. So right now I have 460 cc's dialed in there. If that's dialed in, it's telling you that in this mode, the vent is going to attempt to deliver 460 cc's on expiration to the patient. And it's going to do it by upping or lowering the pressure support level as it tries to accomplish that. So this mode will constantly adjust its pressure support based on the compliance or the situation that's going on, so that 460 cc's are targeted for each breath for this patient. You can turn this off, which is not usually done, but again, it can be. So if I turn the safety volume off, now I'm just in CPAP pressure support. UC just went away, and now you're basically just on a PEEP of 5, pressure supported 2 with a guaranteed rate of 15. But mostly they use this with this on. So we're going to put this back on, safety volume of, say, 380. Okay. Now let's look at each setting. So you have pressure support here of 2 right now. So what this pressure support actually is a minimum. It's a minimum pressure support, which means if for some reason 380 cc's is realized with a pressure support of 3, It's not going to go down as low as 3. It's only going to go to 5, and whatever volume is obtained with a minimum of 5 of pressure support, that is what is going to be given to the patient. So if 5 of pressure support gives 450 cc's, that's what the kid is going to get with these settings. It's a minimum pressure support. The PEEP is just PEEP, as we all know it. The rate is a minimum rate. It's not synchronized. It's the same breath type as a spontaneous breath, which means it's a pressure support breath, and the I time is going to be governed by the flow deceleration. The vent is just going to make sure if this kid goes apneic, he's going to get 15 breaths a minute, and the I time is going to be based on his compliance, just like pressure support is. Rise time is how fast the breath is given. We know that, what that means. Pressure support max. Now what this is again, in this safety volume, we're trying to get 300 in this kid. But if I set this max to something below what is needed to get the 380, then the vent is just going to stop at that max. It's not going to alarm and let you know that's going on. That's just the way it's going to be. And in pressure support, which we fully have talked about what the difference in the term pressure support versus peak pressure or PIP is, it's realized on this vent for sure that if you're in pressure support, this 12 is 12 in addition to the 5. So if I have my max at 12, that means, in the PEEP of 5 here, that means this vent will go all the way up to 17 of pressure as it tries to deliver the 380. And if it can't get to 380, when it hits 17 of pressure, then it will stop and won't deliver the 380. It'll deliver what it can at that max settings. And again, it's not going to alarm and let you know that that is occurring. It just limits it. Okay, so that's what these two pressure support settings are doing. Then you have the I time min and I time max. So we talked about pressure support. The I time is governed by the flow deceleration. So that is what is occurring here. However, if to get the deceleration to occur as the vent measures it, if we've reached the I time of 1.1 seconds and that hasn't occurred, you're telling the vent, I don't want you to continue to attempt to get to zero flow or whatever this is set at. I want you to stop at the 1.1. And again, the vent is not going to alarm and tell you this is occurring. It's assuming that you are aware and that you're comfortable with that setting because that's what you have in this mode. The minimum is the opposite. If you get to zero flow in 0.1 seconds, it's not going to go less than 0.2. In that scenario, you would have a hold during the breath because it's going to hold it for a minimum of 0.2 seconds, no matter what the flow is doing on the waveform. Trigger, how easy and hard it is for the patient to trigger. Cycle, this is like on the Draeger, that what we set at 5% to control our pressure support breaths. Same thing here. At home, they generally set this at something like 25 whenever they come in. Again, this is going to be set on their home settings because leaks play a role in this ability, right? So if you have a big leak, sometimes it controls that and can't get to that 5%, just like with the Draeger. So they kind of ward off that, and typically they'll set this at 25 at home or something like that. Okay, so that's your pressure support mode. Now, let's look at the other mode that can be used, the ST. Now, what's funny here is when you hit ST, okay, nothing really changes in the mode whatsoever. This mode is exactly the same as pressure support, as a pressure support mode. The only difference is what the tabs are called now. So now you see, instead of pressure support min, you get IPAP min. So because it's inspiratory pressure, where before it was pressure support, the pressure support, the 10 would be added to the 5, right? So your PIP right here on the other mode would be 15, but because the ST mode, these are labeled inspiratory pressures, the 10 is now the peak, the PIP. So if I put 10 in here as a minimum, it's not gonna ever go below 10 as it tries to get this volume. It's not going to go, the same thing with the IPAP max, which is the same knob as the pressure support max. So if I put my IPAP max down to, let's say, 10 as a setting, because it's not pressure support, it's IPAP in this mode now. That means that it's not going to have a minimum of 15 like it would in the other mode. It's going to have a minimum of 10, which means now you see my peak, my actual delivered pressure is 10, right? It's not 15 like it would be in the other mode. So the only real difference between these two modes is just the word and how that number relates to the actual word used, right? There's no real difference in the mode itself. It's still CPAP pressure support, and everything is functioning the same in both mode settings. They really just have this way to be convenient for some hospitals that order I and EPAP on their home vents, and some hospitals don't, so they have both of these available. Okay, so that's your basic functionality of the mode. You got your the main screen. If you hit waveform, you got waveforms coming up here. If you hit monitor, it's got patient data that will tell you like what is their spontaneous inspiratory time as each breath is given. So you can see it's 0.89. So if your I time max was set at 0.75, this would say 0.75. If the ranges are big enough for it to work within, it'll be a different number here. Your peak airway pressure reads out here, as well as the manometer on the side. And the rest of this data is here for you. It has a bunch of trends you can look back at. That'll tell you a lot of information if you want to look through there. And then if you go over here on setup, you now have the ability of changing modes or changing the actual settings within that mode. Alarms, alarm packages, and then that's it. Has a battery life as well, as comes up here. But you can see that's basically the functionality of this vent. And we need to make sure that we understand how each one of those settings work, because we are able to have home patients on their home vent and manipulate their settings in the PICU and keep them on their home vent if that's applicable for those patients. So we really can't just look at these are his home settings, he's either good or we're going on the Draeger in some instances.